Hi everyone, I'm Genevieve Chamard and I look after the partnership globally between Capgemini and Google.
And I'm Jennifer Marchand. I lead our Google Cloud COE for the Americas at Capgemini.
And I'm Steve Jones. I'm the EVP for Data-Driven Business.
Thank you guys. We'll hear about you a little bit later. So you've heard about generative AI, I think, throughout this conference so far. And I won't surprise you when I say 70% of global organizations are currently exploring with generative AI, according to Gartner. I could go into a bunch of reasons why you should pay attention to this technology and to these solutions, but this is not this type of presentation. So we're not going to cover what Gen AI is and it's not. We'll also not share why you should give it a try, and I'm definitely not the person to talk about LLMs. You guys had great demo yesterday around how the technology works. This session is more about how you get your enterprise ready to take on this technology. How do you protect your data and your organization? There's a lot of fear around being like one of those early adopters that then made the headlines. And then how do you play for the long game? And how we can answer this question is because Capgemini, we went through this process, right? So we're going to use our own experience over the last 3 months on how we ramped up our capabilities to actually like get up and running around Gen AI. So we'll share how we got started, and we'll have Jennifer share more in details, like practical applications of Gen AI. We'll also share about how do you set the right foundations, how do you reach scale, and then where to go from there. So basically, you probably have been in this position. We were in this position. Where do we start? Are we just like following all of those technology fad and it's not going to be for the long run? So we had multiple ways to go about it, and we also had very lofty goals. So at the top, you see what were set up in terms of targets. We needed to basically get 65,000 of our Capgemini resources get excited around Gen AI. We wanted to, by 2024, reach a library of 500 use cases. And we also wanted to have 100 MVPs. And over the last 3 months, what you see as a result is that we were able to get about 10,000 people to actually care about Gen AI without our company and get trained about it. We now have a library of 250 use cases, and we also have like demonstrable assets. And you're probably trying to figure out, like, how do I reach an expert level across the globe and at scale? How do I identify what is a good use case? How do I prioritize and so on? And how do I actually walk the talk in terms of understanding how this technology works and go to MVPs? So we ask ourselves all those questions. And to get to those results, basically, it's maybe a recipe that you guys would want to take into account, is that we had buy-in from all the lines of business, from top down, to really mobilize the entire organization. We also use that mobilization to prioritize where we would want to play in Gen AI and where we would not want to play, right? What are the key use cases that we want to prioritize? We also created a COE, global, of a team of experts that can really guide us in terms of putting those LLMs model together. We did a global summit to go after those 65,000 people and then end up with 10,000 just for the first 3 months to get the volume of people that can now walk the talk around Gen AI. And lastly, we did a global hackathon around those prioritized use cases to have ready-to-use assets, right? And we're seeing some of our clients using that formula to bypass all of the typical like 3 months phases every time and accelerate all around. So to talk more about the hackathon, I'll pass it on to Jennifer.
Thank you. All right, so first I want to briefly go over the hackathon by the numbers, and then we'll show some of the output of that. So to start with, we had given ourselves 2 weeks to go through the hackathon. It ended up stretching into about 3 weeks from the start of the first kickoff session. We had 1,021 registered hackers representing 29 countries. So a lot of interest in our organization to really start playing with the technology. We also had 16 mentors and 16 judges from Capgemini and Google alike. And the output of that is we had 51 live application MVPs coming out of the teams formed. So very exciting, and I'll actually do a brief playback of what the hackathon process looked like for us. To start with, I'll introduce the top three winners. So at first place, we had a review aggregator. So this took diverse set of customer reviews and aggregated it into one easy to read review for consumers, saving time as well as providing feedback to product and marketing teams. Second place focused on a human-like experience for travel planning, so an agent to help find undiscovered travel locations and personalized itineraries for those. And at third place, we have a chatbot marketing agent, so taking data from the enterprise and presenting it to marketing teams in a conversational format, not requiring any technical expertise. So I'll play a quick video, please.
Welcome to Gen AI Hackathon 2023.
What our product does is that it takes the reviews for this product and summarizes this into a short form content. So if we decided to filter, removing the positive reviews, we can see what the negative things are about the product. So we can get a better feel of if this is something I'd want to buy.
There's a need for a solution that goes beyond conventional tourist attractions and commercial recommendations, one that harnesses the power of AI to curate personalized itineraries and guarantee experiential new adventures. An MVP built using Vertex AI Studio.
Not only able to gather valuable insights from a data set, but as well to create marketing campaigns. We call the designer. Oh, and there we go.
Join the creative revolution.
So before we hop into the demo, just a little bit about our favorite MVP. It focuses on a store-in-a-store concept. So what we've done is we've taken the digital human avatar, which we've all seen, we think is pretty exciting. We think it takes it to the next level by adding generative AI to the digital human. Why? So with digital humans, consumers are willing to engage a little bit longer with technology. However, our focus group found that a digital human can go from hot to not pretty quick if the content remains static. So what we've done is we've used generators and generative fallbacks along with structured and unstructured data to enable a store-in-a-store concept. So we started with the store-in-a-store concept, allowing customers to maximize their channel reach with minimal investment. We layered the digital human with conversational AI, headless commerce APIs on the back end for a conversational commerce kiosk. And then the generative AI expanded our capabilities in the ordering process to allow for open-ended questions and allow us to more gracefully handle exceptions. So I can find what's right for me. So could you imagine using a digital person, whether it's to order food at a restaurant, whether it's to return and learn about new products, or receive product training at the edge in store. You could use this at a retail store, hotel lobby, really taking the contact center to the edge where the consumer is. And the concept is as well, the underlying conversational bot can be used in additional channels without the digital human front end. So think the same bot being used to place the same order from your car, from your Google Home device, from your mobile phone. So in this demo, we're using the Gen AI App Builder Chat Info Bot and the Palm large language model. So let's take a look. Hello.
Hi, welcome to Capgemini's Corner Shop store in a store. My name is Casey and I'm a digital human. I can help you place an order or browse. Are you a loyalty member with us?
So first I'm going to ask her a question to show the generative AI through enterprise search. So we've loaded structured and unstructured data about our business, and you'll see that she prepares and scripts the response based on that. What is a loyalty member?
A loyalty member is someone who has a loyalty account with us. Loyalty accounts let users accumulate rewards points which can be redeemed for in-store rewards. Is there anything else I can help you with?
I am a loyalty member.
Please tell me the phone number associated with your account.
404-123-4567.
Welcome back, Jennifer. The store located at 263 Onondaga Avenue is the closest store to you. Would you like to order from this store?
So now I'm going to ask a question that illustrates the generative fallback. What am I supposed to do?
You are on the store selection screen. The store displayed is the closest store to you. You must select a store before food can be ordered or menu questions can be asked. Once a store is selected, the store cannot be changed later. Is there anything else I can help you with?
What other stores are nearby?
Here are some other stores that are close to you. The stores located at 5084 Mission Street, 2735 Baker Street, and 3640 Fillmore Street are the next closest to you.
I'll order from Baker Street.
Got it. You're ready to order from 2735 Baker Street. You ordered an iced tea last time. Would you like to order it again?
So here we've personalized based on the loyalty member, or you can suggest popular items if they're a guest user. What's on your lunch menu?
Our lunch menu has a cheeseburger, hamburger, fried chicken tenders, a chicken wrap, turkey club, and French fries. So
this question and the next few questions again show the capability of the enterprise search of generative AI. So I'll ask some open-ended questions, and it will direct me to the products that fit what I'm looking for. Is there anything under 600 calories?
Yes, several items are under 600 calories, including the fruit oatmeal, chicken wrap, and turkey club.
How many calories does the turkey club have?
The turkey club has 500 calories.
Does it have gluten?
Yes, the turkey club contains gluten.
What items are gluten-free?
The fruit oatmeal is the only item gluten-free.
Okay, I'll take a fruit oatmeal.
Got it. I've added one fruit oatmeal to your cart. Would you like to add a coffee to your order?
So here we've taken the opportunity to recommend commonly paired items. Sure, I'll take 2 coffees as well.
Got it. I've added 2 coffees to your cart. Cream and sugar will be available at the store. What else can I get you?
What soft drinks do you have?
We only have generic soft drinks. You will receive a cup and decide your drink in store.
Okay, I'll take a soda.
Got it. I've added 1 soft drink to your cart. What else can I get you?
What's in my cart?
I don't have access to that information.
Here you go, she's generative AI. What's in my cart?
Your cart has 1 fruit oatmeal, 2 coffees, and 1 soft drink.
Can I get rid of one of the coffees?
Which item would you like to remove?
One of the coffees?
No problem. I've removed 1 coffee from your cart.
Okay, I'm ready to check out.
Your total is $11.28. Would you like pay using your card on file?
Yes.
Okay, I have placed your order. You should receive a text message confirming your order and order pickup time. Thank you for visiting Capgemini's Corner Shop store in a store.
So here, the digital person makes it more approachable, and Google's Gen App Builder, along with CCAI, makes the channel reach endless with minimal infrastructure. So now I'll ask Steve to talk about how to enable this in the enterprise.
Thank you very much. I'd like to point out that proves it was a real demo because we even had the glitch in it. If anybody wants to see more of the demo, it's on the booth. You can speak to some of the developers behind it, Carl, Thomas, and Charles, who can go into a lot more detail around what you've just seen. And I think the piece really to talk about in terms of the right foundations is there's a lot of pieces to sort of say about Gen AI where you say, it's magic, it's going to be great, it solves world hunger. It's not, it's a new technology. And it's a new technology with some incredibly unique problems that you'll have to face. And one of the things you've got to think about is, what do I need to do in order to be able to trust it to do business? What do I need to be able to do so it represents my brand? So one of the things I need to start with is, what are the ethical principles for your organization? When we say transparent and explainable AI, it's a great thing, but absolutely nobody in this conference understands how an LLM works internally and reaches an individual piece. But can I explain why it did it? Can I bound what it did? Can I ensure that it does what I want it to do within it, and then explain how to repeat that? Can I make sure that it's robust and safe, that when it fails safely? Generative AI gives an entire new set of problems that I have to deal with. It isn't just pass and fail in testing. It's pass, but maybe not, because it hallucinates. You need to think about things you haven't thought about before. And that's where you take those principles, you take those pieces, and you think about, what does it take to really build trust in AI? I'm not going to go through every single thing on this slide because I'd be here for 4.5 hours, but I'm going to pick out 3. Number 1, is there an accountable owner? If we're talking about a future world in which 50% of the work in an organization or more is done by AI, that still means that human beings have 100% of the accountability. There is no ability for a company to go, oh, I didn't mean to order 5,000 of those. The AI did it. Can you just let me off? There is no piece that says, OK, it might have insulted you, but it was just the AI that did it. It wasn't really a customer rep. There needs to be an accountable owner to ensure that the AI is actually taking responsibility. Because the only responsibility an AI ever takes is the responsibility a person forces it to take. If you fire an AI, the rest of the AIs don't learn about it. Second piece, ethical data sourcing. With LLMs, with generative AI, do you have the permission to use the data for the purpose that you are using it? Are you allowed to do it, and can you prove that you are allowed to do it? You don't want a court case where you've got this big model that you're relying upon, or a big knowledge graph that you're relying upon, and not be able to prove that the information within it that you're making decisions upon you've actually allowed to have. And that final point of proving decisions. Can you prove that you took the most effort to make sure the decision was correct? Can you prove that you were in control of the decision? There's a lot of other things in there as well, but I'm not going to go into them today. So then the point is reaching scale. As we talked about at the start with the hackathon, we went from having a large community, get 10,000 people engaged, then build a huge number of MVPs, and then a few weeks later, be standing on stage doing a demo of something that was created in a very short, compressed period of time. You can achieve incredible things very quickly. Therefore, the question is, how do you do that repeatedly? When we talk about LLMs, some companies, a few companies, like Google, are going to build their own LLMs. Companies are going to specialize those things. They're going to exist. Most people are going to use foundation models. What does that mean you need to have? The answer is you need a knowledge model. When you think about that demo you've just seen, all of that isn't in the LLM. The Palm model didn't know the price of things. It didn't know what was in the cart. That's an API call. That's information about the organization, about the products that said whether it's gluten-free and how many calories it had in it. That's the knowledge model. Constructing a knowledge model alongside an LLM is how you bring your corporate content securely into the business process, into the engagement with the LLM. Understanding how your business actually works, how things relate to each other in a way that be communicated through LLMs. That then brings into everybody's favorite term right now, prompt engineering or prompt whispering. The fact that how you tune and how you talk to an LLM changes it. The model and the prompt hub is going to be something you think about. The testing and trust layer. Testing generative AI is not like testing anything else. You need evil testers. I know the motto of Google, and we're here today, is don't be evil, but your testers for generative AI have to be evil. They have to set out to poison the model. They have to set out to push its boundaries to ensure it stays within them. Those are the guardrails. That's the orchestration layer. Have you put in place the things that stop it going off? Generative AI is fantastic at doing demos that are positive, but you need to do the demos that are negative. You need to test that you can't do negative things with it as well. So having those guardrails that control the boundaries of negative is incredibly important. And then on top, we all talk about voice. We all talk about the generative UX and the voice and the LLMs. They are fantastic and magical. But that demo also had a generative UX displaying just a simple bar of products, a simple set of buttons, a simple set of things which actually was part of the user experience which is created by generative AI. So generative UX isn't just about voice. It's about the whole multimodal experience when you are engaging in nonlinear conversations. So the thing about generative AI, I would say, is if it was just about building a better chatbot, it wouldn't actually be that interesting. The question with generative AI is, why bother putting real effort into it if it is just doing chatbots? And the answer for that is, well, there really isn't any point. But the thing about generative AI is it's a lot bigger than that. It does a lot more than that. And I'm not going to read the little things that you can't read the text on, and don't worry, I'm not going to go into those. But in terms of what I'd say is when people start running on the chatbot, they go, right, we're going to do chatbots, we're going to do this avatar, it's going to be this entire 360 we're going to go through. And you probably already thought about it. You've gone, we're going to do service tickets. A great one, we're going to do customer service. We're going to automate our customer service using an avatar. And that's a fantastic thing to look at. But I'll take a $10 bet with everybody in this room. Maybe not $10, $1 bet with everyone in this room. And say that actually what you'll find is when you go and look at the data, that your humans today, the customer service reps who do a really good job and fix problems, when they fix a problem, they document fixed problem. Customer issue resolved. And the call is ended, and everybody is happy, and we move on our way. And we have no documentation about the positive outcomes. When we fail to fix something, we make a lot of documentation explaining why I couldn't fix it, what I tried to do to fix it, why it isn't my fault that I couldn't fix it, and therefore don't blame me that it wasn't fixed. So I have huge amounts of volumes of data that I could automate not fixing things really well, which is probably not what you're trying to do. The great thing about generative AI, therefore, is you can say, well, how can I get the information on what actually fixed it? Well, I can take my call history. I can take my GitHub repository changes. I can take my code and system changes, use that together to create a summary of the call, present it back to the call rep and go, is this how you solve the problem? Yep, great. I've now got information which is about positive outcomes. By using that information on positive outcomes, I can actually now improve my automatic assistance. Then I can start looking at a full avatar. one of the things I would absolutely recommend to everybody when you look at this is make sure you've got the data on positive outcomes before you try and automate negative outcomes incredibly quickly. Because one of the things you can absolutely do with generative AI, thanks to hallucinations and all of those things, is very quickly badly automate negative outcomes. Another piece that everybody talks about is they go, code. We're going to improve the life of developers. And I speak as a developer, and it's great. It's going to improve it. It's going to be fantastic. What will happen when we improve development is the same thing that happens when we've improved development throughout the entire history of development. We get asked to build more complicated things. Never in my career has somebody said, Steve, that thing you built because you're really old in 1995, can you rebuild that tomorrow and we're going to have the same size team that you had in 1995 building that system, and it's going to take just as long and we're going to pay you just as much to do it? The system I was building in 1995, I could probably build in a couple of hours using a point-and-click GUI these days. That is not what I get asked to build today. So as we automate code, we get loads of generative code. What does that mean? I've got a more complicated system. What does that mean the real problem is if you've generated a huge amount of code? The answer is testing. You're going to have a much more complicated system to test. So one of the recommendations we'd make is look at testing as a starting point to drive and improve your SDLC. Generative testing, generative AI is phenomenal at testing. Generative AI didn't start in November last year. Generative AI started in about 2014 with a thing called generative adversarial networks with, I won't go into the whole science of it, but the idea of actually how you generate content and how adversarial networks work. There's a thing within that, which is a very early piece that was used, which is synthetic data, which is generating data. LLMs now enable us to generate test cases. So there are two things that generative AI is phenomenal at. Generating linear code, so give it an API, generate some test case, phenomenal at that. And number two, generating test data. Absolutely awesome at generating test data. The more generative developed code you have, the more automated your testing needs to be, because the less your people will understand the generative code. If 80% or 40% of your code base has not been written by the people in your organization, but they still have to debug it, you better make sure your test harness is there to make sure you push and test it and it's right into production. And in terms of the pieces on the telco and retail, these are some ways we think that telco and retail are going to be impacted by generative AI. This isn't just a small change. One of the ones, and this is the new version of this slide, when I first did the version of this for telco, I'd said that generative AI, software-defined networks, the configuration of networks is something we could see being moved towards generative AI within the next 12 to 18 months. And then a friend of mine, Dave Duggal, phoned me up and said, you know, said 12 to 18 months, Steve? Yeah, I've got a company and we're doing it now with some telcos. Do you want to have a chat? So we had a chat, and we're talking to some companies around it. So Enterprise Web, you can have a look. Generative AI used for software-defined networks in telco, commissioning of networks. If you can commission configuration of telco networks, there's an awful lot of configuration and provisioning you do today that you can move to generative AI fairly quickly. So I'm not going to go through all those pieces. The point is we don't see this as being a little shift for the organizations. We see this as a fundamental change in the way business is going to be done. Way back when, history lesson type stuff, I was working with a little company called Google on the first thing, I don't know if you've heard of them, who on a little thing they had called Google Apps Premier Edition. It was the first SaaS product they'd had that they were launching to the enterprise space. We at Capgemini were the first people to sort of work with them on it, and we were looking back then at the start of SaaS and the start of cloud and saying, this is going to really change business. This is going to change the way we work. It's going to change the way we edit documents. It's going to change the way we do CRM. Cloud is going to change data centers and change all of that business. And way back then, 2008, people were like, well, maybe, maybe not. And I'd say it probably took a decade before it became normal that cloud outplayed data centers, that SaaS was absolutely the default for applications. Generative AI is going to move faster and have a bigger impact than either of those two things, and for a really simple reason. When we talked about the context with the demo, and we talked about the fact that it understood the conversation you'd had before, it's building up a digital picture of your organization. You're integrating that digital context to be able to display that, to be able to enrich that, to be able to use that for decisions. If an organization has a digital twin of its organization and can actually understand its current operational context, that organization can already make better decisions. That means I can put on top of it generative AIs that look at things like supply chain on networking and say in the operation side, and actually look at how we can adapt and reconfigure and respond to that moving context. My consumer avatar moves beyond the stage of just being in terms of making recommendations of sales to actually a lifetime engagement with my customers. Every single one of my customers has a lifetime engagement with a single instance of the avatar which remembers them. This is something, if you want to scare your chief marketing officer, is you will have an avatar and then they'll change their branding in 2 years' time, and your customers will go, you can't kill that avatar, because they will anthropomorphize that. They will believe they have a personal relationship. So if you phone up and the voice is different, or the face is different, then that person won't go, oh, it's okay, they've run out of a branding campaign. They've just killed the avatar that I've been talking to for the past 2 years. That's a change in how business is going to be done. And it's a great way to terrify your CMO, by the way. And in terms of what it means from a generative AI perspective, if I've got that digital context, if I'm pulling in external information from the market, I'm able to pull in something that says this is what the market conditions are, this is what traffic conditions are, this is what prices is, this is resource availability. I know my context. When I start managing my organization, what does generative AI enable me to do? Back to that point on synthetic data. Instead of just forecasting the future and saying, I reckon we're going to get, I don't know, 4% extra sales this quarter, I can simulate a quarter, simulate economic changes within that quarter, simulate product availability changes within that quarter, simulate marketing campaigns within that quarter, and see what is most likely to impact my sales. So I can war game out my business for the next quarter rather than simply forecast it and, hey lads, let's go for it. That's a change in the way you do business. So we don't see generative AI as being simply something that moves the needle in chatbots or knowledge management or search. It moves the needle in how you fundamentally manage business. Because if you can move to a world where you have a digital twin of the business, that means engineering of that foundation to a level where you have accuracy on your operational view of your digital reality, you can simulate futures and therefore dynamically outcompete the competition. That's a different way of managing business. This is as different to business today as cloud is to data center. So, in terms of how we see this in terms of the future, that's our view at Capgemini. In terms of where we would say to go, obviously, come to the booth, it's all great. Have a chat with Kyle, have a chat with Thomas, ask them more about what they did to build that avatar. Because the thing I want to say about the avatar that Jennifer bravely stood up and did the demo of in front of a live audience is it isn't just about the LLM. When we talk about the trust, the LLM isn't the thing that got the prices. The LLM isn't the thing that got the gluten. It's about building a system which understands your business and is then able to make the responses in the way the consumer wants to engage. It's more than just an LLM. It's about the overall architecture. So straight after this, pretty much, Keith and co are going to be talking about how it impacts generative AI on development cycles and all those pieces. Tomorrow, James, my partner in crime on some work we're working on together, is going to go through how we're doing on reimagining the modern consumer experience. But the piece we really want to take at Capgemini is we went on a journey with 65,000 people, where we educated 10,000 people, where we spent 3 weeks and created over 50 MVPs. And one of those MVPs we showed you today, only a few weeks later. That is how quickly you can adopt generative AI and see how it can impact your business. But the reason you do it and the reason you think about trust and control is because this is going to fundamentally change the value of data and the value of technology within the organization. If your business doesn't realize that shift, others will do and will outcompete. So the thought we want to leave you is this. Very quick to adopt, but you need to know how to get trust, and at some stage in the future, 50% of the work in your organization is going to be done by AIs, and the people at this conference are the ones who have to make sure that the business is still in control. And that is not a simple task.